Welcome to my budget deck channel, where I usually try to make decks as cheap and playable as possible. So if this is something you'd be interested in, then why not subscribe? But today is another pack review. I usually don't like to do them back to back. I usually just like to do them spread out a little bit, just whenever I open some packs and I get into packs, then I do it. But this pack is out new. It doesn't have any new cards in it, but it is a new pack and it contains stuff that people are quite keen on. So I wanted to talk about it a bit as well. Plus I am quite happy about the pack for once. Ooh, not going to be much complaining with this one, and we will see why that is in a second. First off, the only card I'm going to be complaining about, and obviously had to be the first one, it's Thought Ruler Archfiend, a synchro card that doesn't really have much business being in this pack besides being a psychic synchro monster. And punks have some synergy with synchro monsters because they have tuners and they want to go into synchros. Not this one though, really not this one. The effect wasn't even that great back in the days when this card came out, and it's not that great now. This card has no business being an ultra rare in my personal opinion. Don't know why it is in this pack, don't know why it's an ultra rare. Could have really done with some semi-playable level 8 synchros that aren't a high rarity, because this card, yeah, you do not want to be picking up this card at all really, and you do not really want to be playing it unless, prove me wrong. I mean, when a spell trap card is activated that targets on psychic monster is protection, so you theoretically can use this card's effect in some meta potentially. Who knows, could become somewhat helpful, I don't know, like against trap decks that only target, you know what it is. We have the Karakuri Super Shogun 00N Borebo. Yes, it is a card, it's a very long name, and it's a very long card text-ish. Well, I mean, there's obviously more difficult ones, longer ones, but Karakuri is also in this pack, and Karakuri is a archetype that lots of people don't really know that much about because you don't really see it all that much, but nonetheless isn't actually that bad. With the whole Earth Machine support that's out there, you can splash this into certain Earth Machine decks, and you can do quite a lot with it. Usually these kind of like splashable good stuff Earth Machine decks will be quite, well, expensive sadly, because you will be combining like 2 to 4 different archetypes of stuff, and yeah, usually there's a better, cheaper, and easier version to play than these massive piles. But these piles can be hilarious because you keep using different kinds of archetypes that somehow connect by the fact that they're Earth Machines. And Karakuri is one of them, and the effects aren't too bad. And also as a standalone deck, you can easily play this, and it's quite controlsy. It's quite like, if you like synchro decks, if you like combo decks that, well, don't end up on the classic generic combo stuff, but more on like a archetypal end board kind of, then this deck might be for you. And this card justifiably is an ultra rare, and you get along with having one just fine. We have the Punk Amazing Dragon. This is also a card you want 1 or 2 of, depending on what you kind of want to be going for. 1 should be fine at the start. I've got a Punk budget build on my channel, so if you want to check this out, I might put it in the description if I don't forget about it. If not, you can find it on my channel anyway, where you can get away with just playing 1 of them. So if you get certain cards from the pack and you want to know, like, oh, can I actually use this in the deck before I pack before I get 3 of all of the cards, then yes, the answer is yes, you can play this even before. It's obviously not going to be as good because you lack certain recovery plays, or it's a bit linear, but still it is playable. And this card is, as its name says, is amazing, but it only is amazing because there's some other cards that go well with it, and that is not this one. Psychic End Punisher, though, a card that I slacked off at the beginning a little bit. I will take this back. This card is quite good actually. I thought, yeah, a bit gimmicky, but no, it is decent for Punk especially. So putting this in this pack, very nice by Konami. We can now, if we get one of this, can play it as well. So a nice inclusion in the pack that is definitely playable. You don't need to craft it to play Punk, but if you have it, you might as well play it because it does some stuff against certain decks. We have the other Punk card, also a card that you potentially want 2 of, but 1 is fine at the start if you just want to be trying out the deck, because you open this pack, even if it's just for the Karakuris and you want to be trying out some Punk stuff, because Punk is not only a deck but also an engine, so there's multiple different ways how you can be using this anyway. And yeah, 1 is fine, but you might want 2 anyway. But look at this art style, look at it, super beautiful and very, very nice. The effect of this card is very crazy as well. Special summon up to 2 Punk monsters from your hand or deck. Mental, absolutely mental. We have 1 Deer Note. You yeah, like I said, you have 1 Deer Note. You don't really need more than 1. You could be playing 2, but 1 usually is fine as well, so we don't need that many ultra rares at all. Very, very neat for this pack as well. And we already had super rares. This is the other card where I'm like, Well, it's not amazing, but I guess I feel like the Charmers should never have been super rares, in my personal opinion. They would have been absolutely great cards for rares, rare slot. It is what it is. I guess Konami wants, obviously, to make some money with this, and yeah, you can play this card in many decks. Don't know how much this is actually played and how much you want to be going into this one compared to like any other one, but it's definitely like not a bad card to be included in this pack or to get in general. It's, well, decent, I would say. We have the other Karakuri Synchro monster. This card is very, very neat because you can special summon one Karakuri monster from your deck as well. That's one of their gimmicks for their Synchro monsters. Very strong, very strange from time to time. And then you can target one monster on the field, changes battle position. Sounds very underwhelming, but that's how Karakuris work. If their battle position is changed, they get sometimes bad, sometimes very, very strong effects depending on what card it is. So this effect is a lot better than it sounds like. Kind of wish it was doing either player's turn, but it doesn't really matter that much because you don't want to be ending on this card anyway. We have the other Karakuri monster, the Steel Shogun. This card also, when it's special Synchro Summon, you can special summon one monster from your deck, well, Karakuri of course, and once per turn, if the battle position of a face-up Karakuri monster you control is changed, draw one card. So you get card draw, and you might have noticed it says once per turn. It doesn't say you can only use this card's effect once per turn, so if you go into multiple of this, you can also draw multiple cards. Very, very interesting, and with a level 9 Synchro monster or level 11 or whatnots, plenty of Synchro monsters around, you will have quite a good payoff with just going into this card, drawing one card, and then potentially going one step further as well. Talking about Synchro monsters, they give you a bit of a payoff. Punk Jam a Dragon Drive is also a very, very nice card. It can do lots of stuff for your deck. If this card is special summoned by the effect of a Punk card or Synchro summoned, so you can even use it from the graveyard because the other Synchro summons this card as well from the graveyard. So there's that one. You can pay 600 life points, take one level 3 psychic monster from your deck, and either add to your hand or send it to the graveyard. So you can even add Ghost Ogre to your hand, which is hilarious. And then you have some other effects while this card's in the graveyard. You can special summon this card and blah blah blah. This card very, very, very neat for the Punk deck, and you also want one or two, depends on what kind of variant you want to be playing. So yeah, it's definitely a pickup, but you don't need 3 of it again, so very, very neat. We have the Karakuri Merchant. I'm not even going to try. This card, one of the playmakers of the deck, or play starters, because this card is, when it's normal summoned, you can add one Karakuri card from your deck to your hand. Very important. So this is sadly a 3-off as a super rare slot, but that searchers are super rares and that they are 3-offs should not surprise anyone at this point. It's a good card. We have the next one, a card that I understand why it's a super rare, but I don't know if they had to. It would have been kind of fun if Karakuri was one of the, well, budget tier decks, so you could actually play it a lot more and you could see it a lot more. Sadly that isn't the case because I think you also need like 2 or 3 of this card. It's giving you an extra normal summon, which obviously is quite nice if you have a deck that wants to flood the board with monsters, so that one can help. And they all have the effect that the cards must attack if able, so that's when you have to switch the defense so they can't, and so on and so on and so on. So there is that one, and we have the other super rare, which is the level 5 one, which sounds a bit strange. I don't think this had to be a super rare either, but you can special summon it from your hand, so you gain more monsters, but it locks you into Earth Machine monsters. So this can be nice in other Earth Machine decks and other variants that splash like Infinitrax or whatever in. But you have to look what you want to be doing with this card. So different builds use different cards for Karakuri. There's multiple different playstyles, some that use more of a back row kind of approach because their traps and spells aren't too bad, and some go for the monster spam decks, so depends on what you're wanting to go for. We have the No Punk Zeamin in here, obviously one of the other ones. It's a searcher as well. Searchers use some of the good monsters and is a super rare, so you get plenty out of this one, but you sadly have to be playing like 3 of it. You can theoretically circumvent this by playing Emergency Teleport as well. You usually want to play both, but you can find reissues where you maybe get away with playing like 2 if you didn't get the 3, and it will still be somewhat fine, but usually you kind of want to see 3 of this. Same for Foxytune. Foxytune is a card that searches your stuff and special summons things, which is very important for this deck because you want to have different ways of getting your monsters on board than just using a normal summon, because obviously you can play through disruptions a bit better. This also extends your plays and so on and so on. So definite 3-off. Sadly also a super rare, and we don't stop there. We have Ogre Dance in here. Also theoretically you want to be playing this at I would say like 2 to 3, I'm not 100% sure. I played it at 1 or at 0 and it still works without it. It's still a good or decent card because you can like add one monster to your hand, which is quite nice. And it basically just swaps itself out for one other punk monster from your deck, which is very, very neat. Besides a level 8 monster, you can with this go into this one, but it doesn't matter because you can go for the searcher that then searches this one and so on. But there will be combo videos for this. This has nothing to do in a pack review, but that's what it is. We come back to the Karakuri Cash. We have this in here that not only shows you how inconsistent the English language is, but also it is a good card for Karakuris if you want to be playing a more pure Karakuri variant anyway, because you can select one face-up Karakuri monster and add one level 4 or lower monster from your deck to your hand, and then also change the battle position like we already discovered. That is a nice thing to do. And we have the extreme session that you use like 1 or 2 of, so if you only get 1 you're fine, but you kind of want to be playing 2 usually. It is what it is, but that's the last super rare if I'm not mistaken. So all in all, what can I say to this pack? It has some, well, decent-ish rare cards in here that we don't really need to talk about because you probably will be able to craft them if you want to. But yeah, it has all the stuff in here that you need for either of those 2 decks. Some weird ones, don't know why this is in here, but it is. And for the rarity cards, we've already seen this is probably one of the packs that you get the most value of from the point of view of like they're good cards. There's not that many terrible high rarity cards in here, and I like when that's the case because Konami has decided to first of all make a lot of cards high rarity that shouldn't be, like Nias Elias. Oof, when that was in a pack I was displeased at the last. But we also have lots of cards in here that you can use for the deck and that are important for the deck, and not a lot of them you will be like, oh yeah, I got this, but it's not even played in its respective deck, and what do I do with it now? I've uncrafted. Here you will basically be able to use every card but the Thought Ruler Arcfiend. Theoretically, you won't be using Ausa all that much, but it's still like an okay-ish card, so that's fine. So I'll rate this probably like a 7 or 8 out of 10, if not, because Punk Engine's still at least decent. It's very, very good. You can play it in lots of different decks. You can play a pure Punk version as well if you want to. Karakuri is not a bad deck whatsoever. I know people don't really play it, and yes, it's not a meta deck or even close to it, but it's fun and it is very playable, at least, because they have received certain support and they do certain stuff. It's not like a deck that absolutely does nothing, so you can play it if you want to open it just for the Punk. You will still get like a good deck out of this in combination with it, so that's nice. You can combine any of those 2 decks. I don't know why they're even in the same pack, who knows, but they are in here, and yes. So I would say it could be like a tiny bit better, but meta wise it's decent, and deck wise it's decent, and rarity wise it's absolutely decent. So yeah, probably like an 8 out of 10. One of the better packs that exist in Master Duel, and this time of course we will be progressing. Power creep is a thing, and these cards will all be useless in like 2 years probably, or something like that, if we look at how Yu-Gi-Oh is dealing with stuff right now. So yeah, take it while it lasts, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, but most importantly, I hope you have a nice day, and I promise there's going to be more deck profiles on here eventually when I can be arsed playing this meta again at the moment.